On this hot sheet, I discuss home prices from Case-Shiller and FHA, just released yesterday, an increase in smaller homes, Zillow's 1% down payment, and also an update on mortgage demand. Today is Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Welcome back into the hot sheet. Buckle up because we have a whole bunch to cover. There's a lot of slides in the daily download. If you're a BAMX member, you know where to find those. Put those in the same place every single day so you can download them. If you were not a BAMX member, it's the way to get the most out of BAM content. Use code HOT to get 10% off of your BAMX membership. We've got Case-Shiller and FHFA, which just released their home price indexes yesterday. I'll tell you how that's going to relate to what builders are doing to help with affordability, as well as loans, potentially making some concessions here. Let's start with Case-Shiller, commonly known as the gold standard for home price indexes, and they are unchanged year over year in June. They released the monthly home price indices for June, and it's a 3-month average of April, May, June closing prices. So June closing prices include some contracts signed in February. Okay, so there's a significant lag to this data. Case-Shiller, while considered the gold standard, is the most lagging data of all of the indexes. If you look at like NAR already has July out, Case-Shiller just reported June, but because they take a little bit longer and they go and go through every single detail, they are often considered, rather, by many, the gold standard. Okay, so Case-Shiller National Index month over month, seasonally adjusted. You see here now 5 straight month increases. This is a 0.3% increase total for June, according to Case-Shiller on home values. Okay, so we've got 5 straight months now of home price increases after, of course, interest rate increase in 22 caused month over month declines. This increase here, this particular increase from Case-Shiller, has us back to near all-time highs, which were reached last summer. The index right now, as it sits here today, is just 0.2% below its all-time high in the summer. So for all of the doomers, everybody that is saying, well, I'm going to wait until these home prices crash. No, what has crashed is transactions. Home prices have not crashed. The homeowner's in a very strong position. 42% of them don't even have a mortgage. 91% of them have a mortgage under 5%. They're not giving that asset away at a discount. This is why we have such low inventory, and we start to see now 5 months in a row, according to Case-Shiller and many others, that home prices continue to push up. Remember, Zillow projects that we're going to have a 6.5% bump over the next 10 months in home prices. But by July of 2024, they expect another 6.5% on top of what we have today. Now, they're the ultimate bull. They believe in the home prices more than anybody heading in the upward direction. But it makes a lot of sense when you think about where we're at. It makes very little sense for those who are saying, well, home prices went down before, going back to this time frame here. If you're watching, I'm showing, January 2006 to January 2012, that time frame there, 06 to 012. Home prices went down there dramatically, so they've got to do it here. No, not the case. Our mortgage laws are quite different from that period to today, right? We've changed a lot in 2010, 11, and 12, and we're actually giving out far less capital. It was 9 times easier to access mortgage capital during that era than it is today. Another thing in our favor would be obviously the job market, and we're going to watch that closely because I think that could be the biggest impact on prices. But another thing in our factor is the low delinquency rate, which we've talked about a whole bunch. Here's another example from data just released yesterday by Case-Shiller, the S&P CoreLogic. Case-Shiller indices shows that the low tier, the $284,000, they're calling under 280, basically under $285,000 homes. That's that light gray line. Okay, I'll zoom in here a little bit. The light gray line following middle tier and high tier on the bump up on prices. The percent change, obviously got into double digits the last couple of years. And now that percent change on home prices year over year, it is starting to, it's not as high, it's not as rapid. But if you look at, I found this interesting. If you look at 2012, 13, 14, and 15, the lower price tier under $285,000 homes, the increase was much more significant than it was the last few years, okay, during the recovery of the great financial crisis. Now, we obviously saw such a significant drop that we were making up some ground there. No question about that. And that's why that pop was so significant. But going back to 1993, the low tier, 285,000 and under, increased more during that time period, 012 to 2015, 2013 rather to 2015, than it did on any other part of this chart going back to 1993. You would have thought, with everybody screaming how much Wall Street is buying homes, we know it's in the single digit percentages on how many homes they own. It's not a lot, right? In fact, the small investor owns way more real estate than Wall Street or institutional buyers, which is a good thing. We want our small investors. We want our neighbor to protect their retirement through real estate. That's great. That's great for the small investor. But you would have thought everybody saying, iBuyers and institutional buyers, and you've got cash buyers stealing homes from first-time home buyers, that the under 285 tier would have been even more of a significant increase than those 13, 14, 15 years. Not the case. Another point of evidence towards, we are not anywhere close to a 2006, 2007 type of market. We haven't overheated in that respect. We have our other issues, which aren't, necessarily mortgage or demand or these types of things. The other issues are inventory, lack of supply, and how to fix that really is the, what's our percent of GDP? 17.5% of GDP. The multi-trillion-dollar question: how do you fix supply? Obviously, if we could do that, we'd all be in a better spot. U.S. home prices did rise 3% between the second quarters of 2022 and 2023. Now, this is according to FHA. So FHA also released their index yesterday. Their index speaks to the entire second quarter, FHA home price index, as well as June. So let's take a look at what FHA has to say. Again, they have 3% from quarter two of 2022 to quarter two of 2023. They also say that home prices were up 1.7% compared with the first quarter of 2023. So that's looking at the second quarter of 23 compared to the first quarter. And then we were up 0.3% in June. So the 0.3% matches Case-Shiller number according to FHA. Found this interesting. Home prices rose in 42 states between second quarters of 22 and 23. Okay, so what's that? 80+% of the country, 80+% of states saw an increase in home prices between 22 and 23. During the most volatile increase of mortgage rates that we've ever seen, the fastest, sharpest increase on mortgage rates, during that time period, home prices rose in 42 states, did not drop. The 5 areas with the highest annual appreciation, get ready: Maine, 7.6%. Let me know in the chat. Obviously, love to hear where you're tuning in from. If you're just jumping into the live stream, love having you guys here. I saw a couple of people this week say, "Hey, this is the first time on the hot sheet, loving it. Appreciate you. Would love to see you guys subscribe to the channel if you're interested. We do the show every single day, live at 9:30 on the East, 6:30 in the West. So if you're in one of these markets, give me a shout out in the live chat. Maine 7.6%. Highest annual appreciation. Connecticut matches that. New Hampshire 7.1. We've talked a lot on the hot sheet. Northeast starved for inventory. A lot less building when you compare the Northeast to Sunbelt states and other places. Arkansas in at 6.9% at number 4. New Jersey 6.9%. So 4 out of the top 5 annual appreciation come in the Northeast. Northeast also typically late to the party on any home price decline. So there's an argument to be made there that the Northeast is next to cool off. We saw cooling in the West the last couple of years. I would argue that until inventory comes into those areas, it'll be hard to imagine that. The areas showing the highest annual depreciation would be Nevada at negative 5.3%, DC at negative 4.9%. By the way, DC is not a state. I know they always try to clump it in as a state. Sorry, guys and gals in Washington, you're actually not a state. Negative 4.9% there. Utah, negative 4.5%. Idaho, negative 4.1%. And Washington, negative 3.4%. Home prices rose in 74 of the top 100 largest metropolitan areas over the last 4 quarters. The annual price increase was the greatest in Camden, New Jersey at 10.6%. And then San Francisco area was the sharpest decline at negative 12.2%. Now I've shown this so many times. I'm like, this is maybe the best graph or chart rather you could ever show to somebody who doesn't believe in the long-term value of real estate. Home price growth by months into the decade. This is Case-Shiller data going back from the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. In every single decade, you win. Long-term homeowners win, and they win big. Okay, it's like you're the casino, and unfortunately for renters, they're the ones out there gambling, waiting. Well, I'm gonna potentially get a home price decline. The longer you wait and try to time this market, the more, unfortunately, that they will miss out on these great pops of value. Okay, and this is the job of great real estate professionals and knowledge brokers to be able to help tenants, help renters, help people in your community understand that long term, if you're going to be in this community 10, 20 years, and a lot of people don't plan on moving around every single year. If you do, hey, you should be renting for sure. But if you plan on being in one place, then you should think about becoming a homeowner. You should try to do that as quickly as you possibly can because the numbers continue to go up. Going back to FHA's report yesterday, Q2 up to 3%. And you can go, this is going back to 2013 Q2. So I don't know, Q2, obviously spring market, great market. Q2 is usually peak value quarter in any given year. And you go back to 2013, the last 10 years, Q2 had an increase in every quarter. Now, this Q2, let's be real, this Q2 was the smallest increase of any Q2 going back the last 10 years, but still 3%. Who wouldn't take 3% on their money? This shows you here, this will be available for BAMX members in our daily download section of BAMX, 4-quarter house price change by state. Okay, so this is a 4-quarter house price change according to FHA. U.S. 4-quarter appreciation is again 3%, Q2 of 22 to Q2 of 2023. You can see everything on the east with an increase, everything in the south until you get to Southwest Arizona, everything in that Midwest, and even some of those western states, Wyoming, Montana increases. When you get all the way far west, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and in California, that's where you see the declines, the largest again being Nevada at negative 5.3%. Again, Maine and Connecticut coming out on top at 7.6%, according to FHFA. Monthly house price index for US this is another one When you're talking to a home buyer and they've got somebody in their ear about a home price crash because they were renting a house in 2006 and they were so glad they weren't a homeowner, and you're like, huh, well, you're still a renter, and home prices did go up 40% in the last couple of years. You missed out on that, right? But they've got all the information because they watch doom and gloomers on YouTube or wherever. Monthly home price index for US from January 1991 to present. Just look at that, right? There's one little spot here, okay? And that is the great financial crisis, which was a once in a lifetime event. For those of us that went through it, remember, you could just call your buddy, I did this, who was a mortgage lender, and say, just write me a loan, bro. Don't worry about the details. Just wire me the money, basically. That's what was going on here. We fixed those. The mortgage industry has fixed all of those rules. We've got 9 or 10 times less capital flowing into it. It's very hard to get a mortgage today. It's not an easy thing. Fortunately, we're in a spot where we have low unemployment. We have a strong consumer, and people are still able to qualify, but the qualifications are much harder, as they should be. We remember what happened going into 2007. But on the grand scale here, from January of 1991 till today, the U.S. home prices are nothing but a guarantee to rocket shit up. Compound annual growth rate since January 91, compound 4.4%. Compound annual. Okay, if you're unfamiliar with annual compounding rates, talk to your financial planner. I'm not a financial planner, but just have them break it down for you. And they've got a little calculator that shows you what that does to your wealth. If you can get 4.4% on your money, you're doing compound annual growth. You put $100,000 away and watch what it does. It's fascinating to see how much wealth you gain year over year by letting that compound. We've had 4.4% on U.S. home prices from January 1991 annually. Compound annual growth since January 2000, 4.7%. Since January 2012, 7.5%. Real estate's getting more expensive, not less. The inventory crisis is going to continue to push prices up. Remember, Zillow projects 6.5% more on our money, on our home values, rather, over the next 10 months. These homes are not going to become all of a sudden less expensive unless we can have a glut of inventory. The only way we get a significant uptick in inventory, when you look at housing starts, when you look at what's coming down the line, only 70,000 new construction homes are completed right now and ready to go. So that's not a lot, by the way. That's not a lot when you're somewhere between 2 and 7 million homes short of supply. So when you look at what's coming down the pike, there's not inventory coming from that sector. You've got, again, 90% of people with less than 5% on their mortgage rate. Most of them are buyers. They're in a wait and see approach. It is what it is. As much as we don't want to believe it, that is the truth. And so the only place supply can come from is a major break in the job market. None of us are rooting for that. So this is the market for longer. Agents should be advising buyers that this is the market for longer. That means, yes, it's a harder deal for agents. No question about it. But it's been hard before, and we've gotten through it. But longer, this market for longer also means this market with home price increases for longer for home shoppers. So if you're shopping for a home, contextualizing what type of market I'm going to be in for the next couple of years, that long-term real estate does nothing but go up and up and up. I've got to make a decision. Do I want to sit back in my apartment and watch these values go up, or do I want to get in the game? There was this guy on YouTube. He got into it with Logan Modashami recently on Twitter as well. This guy, Reventure, who rents, by the way, in Texas, who was telling people back in 2020, don't buy a house. It's the worst investment you can make right now because these prices are going to drop. We know that they went up 40%. Guy's got a lot of followers. I don't know why. Love to debate him. Won't answer any requests. Last part on the FHFA home price index, US up 16%. Price change from June 21 to June 22, 3.1% when we look at June 22 to June 23. The only two regions, these are regional prices now, the only two regions that actually saw a price change decrease in the last year would be Pacific region and the Mountain region. The year prior, 13% up for Pacific, 17.7% up for the Mountain region. When you look at West North Central, West South Central, East North Central, East South Central, New England, Middle Atlantic, and South Atlantic, all up over this last year, the largest being New England at 6.8%. The region that had the second largest increase would be the East North Central at 5.4%. Again, all of this data is available for our BAMX members. You can use code HOT to get 10% off. We have a daily download section inside of BAMX. Of course, all of our courses, all of our live streams, our Facebook community, which is unbelievable right now, is also available to BAMX members. We were going to announce BAM Camp. We've already announced BAM Camp, obviously, September 20th. A couple tickets left. Make sure you grab those. BAMX members get 25% off of that. But we were going to release our merch store at BAM Camp on September 20th. And we teased it out. We said, hey, we're going to do a soft launch like this week on merch. We put it out there to BAMX members, showed them some of the merch with, maybe there's a little bit of NAR merch in there that we're going to release this week. We're like, we got to get some of these t-shirts out there now. And people are like, yes, let's do it. So stay tuned for that. We've got that coming up. That'll be available to everybody, not just BAMX members. It'll be limited supply. Obviously, BAMX members get first dibs, and then we'll go from there. All right. Home prices, obviously incredibly high. How do we find affordability options in this market? Well, according to Alina Botros from Fortune, she says builders' answer for deteriorated housing affordability is smaller homes. Okay. How are they doing that? What does that mean? And are you seeing that trend in your market? Love to know in the live chat if you are. Well, let's look at a shift in average unit size of new homes between August 2018 and August 2023. This is average square feet calculated by Zonda. So this is all sourced to Zonda. The chart is Fortune, and it'll be available in the daily download. Okay, Seattle, 2,700 square feet plus down to 2,200 square feet plus. Okay, this is a shift in average size. Now we know home prices are going up. So what are builders doing? They're building less. I know from experience that a lot of times when you bring a buyer through new construction and you have, a particular size home, like, I wish I had more space. I wish I had more storage, or I would do the purchase at this price. But the value for builders it's usually like 400 square feet off of like a lot of people wanting it, 400 square feet off. And then people just holding back because if they had a little bit more space, an extra den or some more storage, they'd go through the purchase. Let me know if you experience the same thing with new construction and advising home shoppers. And I'm also seeing a lot of folks that want more space the last couple of years. Emily Tyson, our new builds are pretty big. The lots are small, plus 2,000. In Charlotte, I don't know where Emily's coming in from. Emily, if you want to chime in where you're coming in from. Charlotte, 2,800 square feet down to 24. Minneapolis, 27 down to 23. Nationally, we were at an average of almost 2,700 square feet. Now, new construction average is at 2,400 square feet. And all the rest are listed out here. It's all similar trends. You look at Dallas being from over almost 2,900 square feet down to 2,660 on the square footage. I guess that's true. Everything is a little bit bigger in Texas. Although I'll be back in Texas next week at Jeremy Knight's event, and I'll find out if that's true in Austin. I'll be in Austin on Friday. If you're going to be in the Austin area, we have a link down below I'll be speaking at Jeremy's event along with Eric, the broke agent. Looking forward to that. All right. So smaller homes is one way with the higher prices that builders are trying to, keep their margins where they are and keep affordability somewhat reasonable for new home shoppers. Another way to do that would be for home shoppers to put down less money. On nowbam.com, we have a piece about the Zillow home loan offering. Zillow Home Loans is now offering a 1% down payment. Okay, so a lot of comments online that this is crazy, this and that. This isn't that crazy. Okay. This is, I mean, VA's been doing this for, how long? 0% down. There's a lot of, this is marketing. And this is the reason Zillow's captured the attention of the consumer. Their brand is great at messaging information to consumers. I might actually, in my market, think about taking what Zillow's doing with this, partnering with a couple lenders and saying, how can we put out a similar message? Okay, there's going to be opportunities and products. You talk enough lenders in your local market for you to put out the similar messaging. If it's working for Zillow, it can work for you at the local level. Zillow Home Loans is now offering 1% down payment, reducing the amount of time it takes for buyers to save the upfront cost of buying a home, thereby making home ownership accessible to more people, especially first-time home buyers. Okay. Eligible buyers would pay 1% of the final price, and Zillow Home Loans would contribute an additional 2% on closing. Zillow would contribute an additional 2% on closing. There's some fine print in there, but ultimately Zillow's coming after the mortgage business. Okay. If you haven't done a deal with a Zillow home loan yet, you're an agent, you're about to, they're coming for that space in a significant way to make home ownership. Now they're going to spin this as making home ownership more accessible. This is why they're doing this 1% down payment program. The majority, 64% of first-time homebuyers are making down payments of less than 20%. A quarter of them are putting down 5% or less. And for many, even saving for a down percent payment means waiting even another year or more. Now we know, going back to the data, and Zillow knows this, they believe prices are going to go up 6.5%. But going back to Case-Shiller and FHA data and historical decade data, that waiting another year could cost you a lot more money than just adjusting the payment, right? It comes down to payment affordability for buyers more so than home prices. And when I say it could cost you a lot more, it could cost you missing out on that appreciation, that compound annual appreciation that we showed in the prior chart. The difference between saving enough to put down 1% versus 2% means buyers could potentially buy a home a year and a half or more sooner than otherwise. It's a big deal for the potential generation wealth buildup that buyers can have looking out to the future. They're rolling the program out right now in Arizona. Let me know if you're an Arizona agent and you've already seen it, with plans to expand to other markets. Everything starts in Arizona. I mean, Arizona is just like the incubator of every single real estate product known to mankind. A home buyer in Phoenix, for example, who earns 80% of the area's median household income and who saves 5% of it each month would need less than a year, 11 months to save enough for a 1% down payment on a $275,000 home. Saving for 3% down payment would take them 31 months or about 2.5 years. This is where home shoppers are people with the dream, the still the American dream, which seems to be fading. This is where they quit on that dream, where they get burnt out when they're waiting 31 months, when they're waiting basically 3 years to save for a down payment. What happens in that 3-year time frame as a buyer? Well, you pick up a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and they say, geez, we've really been working hard, hun. We should go take that vacation. You go blow 8G in Disney World or Disneyland, and then the savings for the down payment completely goes away, and it becomes perpetual renter mode. Good news on mortgage applications, speaking of mortgage, is that they increased 2.3% from 1 week earlier, which might surprise you. I was actually pleasantly surprised with the 2.3% increase, of course, because we saw just last week the 30-year fix touch 7.49, the highest in 23 years. Well, maybe these buyers were ahead of the curve. Maybe they've been like looking at that Mortgage Banker Association outlook, and that by the end of the year, these are going to go nothing but down because they believe we're going to be at 6%. Look at the drop yesterday. This was great news. 7.12. The 30-year fix comes in yesterday. Just 6 days ago, it was 7.49. So the volatility continues. We're getting the benefit of that volatility this week on the 30-year fix as we saw it drop down. The 10-year is coming in at 4.107. Another drop happening right now. We could get as close to maybe an even 7 handle on the 30-year fixed. How fantastic would that be? All right. That's the hot sheet for today. Appreciate you guys. Consider subscribing. Love to see you in our BAMX community. It's where you get the most of our content. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. There's so much stuff happening and coming down the pike. That, I promise you, today's price in BAMX, which is coffee money, will be the lowest price. There'll be some changes to that coming soon, just based off of the value going in. Appreciate you guys on this show. We'll be back here tomorrow. It's the only live daily housing show on the internet in housing and in real estate. 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Till then, have a great Wednesday. Be super productive. And of course, toodaloo.